بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Those who are listening online, inshallah, just let me know if you can hear clearly and if the sound is coming appropriately, inshallah. So I know this week we have some new listeners, and I want to do a quick recap, inshaAllah, of the purpose of this series and what we're covering. We're discussing the important matters which will happen and occur towards the end of times. The first sign that the end is coming was with the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was over 1400 years ago. And like this, we continue every day seeing more and more signs which shows us that the inevitable is that the time is coming near. The end is coming near. And the important duty for the believer is to prepare for that final time. And the way of preparation is by spiritually waking up and opening our eyes to our surroundings and what's happening in the world, opening our eyes to understanding and realizing that every day we're in a battle. Every day we're in an examination. Every single day that you wake up, there's an attack that's being played out against you. Every single day that you wake up. Right? It's mentioned in the ahadith that when you're sleeping, the shaitan, he comes and he ties knots on you. He ties 3 knots because he's trying to keep you asleep. He's trying to battle against you and make sure that you don't reach your goal and your destination, which is Jannah. He doesn't want you to reach there. When you wake up, you take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you make wudu, you perform your salah. One by one, you've untied these knots of the shaitan. Every day you're in a battle, right? And the past 4 weeks, we've been discussing the greatest of these trials and tribulations, the greatest of these tests, which is the Dajjal, right? And we covered 3 weeks, who he is, where he's going to come, what are some of his signs, what is the relevance in today's time that shows he's already plotting and planning, and the groundwork which is being done right now at this moment. And the 4th week, which was last week, we covered all of the different steps that a believer can take to protect themselves. How will you save yourself? How will you prepare yourself for the times that lie ahead of us? Right? And if anyone wants to refer to any of the previous lessons and lectures, you can check us online on Soundcloud, SIDDEEQ-institute. Look us up, SIDDEEQ Institute. You can refer to all the previous lectures there.
Alright, so last week, amongst the ways to protect oneself from the Dajjal, we mentioned a few things. Anyone remember some of them? Don't go back and look at the PDF that was sent out from your memory. Anyone remember? Follow the way of Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. Simplicity, no care for dunya, not worrying about worldly things so much, focusing on the akhirah, living simple, living rough, not being pampered, not being used to luxury and comfort, being able to say no to comfort. Right? Anything else?
Reciting dhikr.
The tasbihat, reciting dhikr, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in abundance. Why is that one of the protections from Dajjal? Anyone remember? What does you doing dhikr have to do with protection from Dajjal?
It will become your food.
Because the people that will battle against Dajjal, Rasulullah ﷺ has mentioned in the hadith that when Dajjal takes all the resources, he'll take away the crops, he'll take away food, he'll take away all these resources, the believers will be hungry. They're not going to have food. So Rasulullah ﷺ said, their provision will be the provision of the people of the skies. Who are the people of the skies? The angels. And what nutrition do the angels get? They don't eat food. Their nutrition is through the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just like the angels are nourished, the believers will be nourished in the same way. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, appetizer, snack, you name it, all of that is in there. Right? So the people that find comfort, they find happiness, they find fulfillment, not just in this dunya, not in food and drink of this world, but rather they find it in obedience and remembrance of Allah. That's a sign that you're on the right track. You're equipping yourself with the tools to protect yourself from Dajjal. And I wanted to know last week, would there be anyone that would learn Surah Kahf? The first 10 verses, last 10 verses. Anyone? Inshallah, we still have time. MashaAllah, we have a raised hand here. One brother raised their hand. MashaAllah. Barakallahu feekum. MashaAllah, we see some raised hands here. May Allah protect us all and bless us all. Everyone should make intention, right? Like we said, everyone is looking for the vaccine because we're scared of COVID-19, right? Suratul Kahf, it will give you protection from the greatest tribulation. Coronavirus is not the greatest tribulation. It is a tribulation, but it's not the greatest. The biggest tribulation that will come is Dajjal. Your vaccine to protect yourself from him lies in Suratul Kahf. Learn Surah Kahf. Memorize at least the first 10 and last 10. Make it a habit. Every Jumu'ah, recite Surah Kahf. My dear brothers and sisters, like we've been mentioning before, you could be an expert in all of the signs of Qiyamah. You could learn every detail of Dajjal. You could learn every detail of the second coming of Isa alayhi salam. You could know every detail of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. You could see them in your dreams every night, no problem. But if you don't prepare and you don't implement and you don't make the necessary changes, that knowledge is not going to benefit you. What will benefit a person and protect a person is implementation. Right? And implementation means what? It means that it's part of your life now. It's not a one-time thing. Oh, 1 week we got scared of Dajjal because of the bayan, so we read Surah Kahf and then we left it after that. It was kind of scary that Friday, so we thought about it. No. This means every day your tasbihat are there. Every week your Surah Kahf is there. Every day that you wake up, you remember that you're in a battle and you equip yourself with what you need to. Right? Even coronavirus vaccine, they say you have to take a couple of times, right? One is not going to be enough for you. So Surah Kahf, all of these things, we're supposed to be implementing as much as we can, inshaAllah. We ask Allah to give us all tawfiq. Like I said last time, inshaAllah, we have hopes, there's still time. We make intention, inshaAllah, right? We're going to learn Surah Kahf, inshaAllah, and every Friday, till the rest of our lives, till the day that we die. Inshallah, every week we'll read Surah Kahf. Everyone make intention for this, inshallah. Alright, it's very important. Last week we talked about the end of Dajjal is going to be by who? Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. He will follow him and chase him where? Bab Lud. And at Bab Lud, he will finish him off over there. Right? And from this you can understand that Isa alayhi salam, he is the one that is preserved, he's reserved specifically for this task. Right? And subhanallah, it's amazing if you look at, many Christian groups, there's literally thousands of Bible studies, thousands of lectures and sermons and groups that are basically in preparation for the second coming. Right? And even the Christian scholars, they believe that this time is coming when? It's coming soon, even according to them. Right? And the interesting thing is how people who are not affiliated with Islam, they're preparing, they're learning, they're studying, they're reading, they're preparing their congregations. And the congregations are interested in learning and studying in all of this. But Muslims who have the scriptures of truth, we have the Quran, we have the books of hadith, we have the sayings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but all of these things are recited and it just goes over our heads and we show no interest. We have the truth. We should be interested, we should be motivated, and we should be learning. Look at what Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, what he said. When he was speaking to some of his companions, Abu Hurairah, the companion of the Prophet alayhi salam, he was talking about the second coming of Isa alayhi salam. And he explained how he's going to come, and he mentioned a few of the details. And look what he says. He says, أَفَلَا تَرَوْنِي شَيْخًا كَبِيرًا. He says, when you guys look at me, you see me as an old man, don't you? He had aged. He was an old man at that time. He said, look at me. You see that I'm an old man, right? You see that my rib cage, the two sides of my ribs, they're coming together. I'm growing so old and weak and frail, and I'm going to pass away soon, anytime. But look what he says. He says, Inni la arju, I have this hope, and I have this desire, la amutu hatta alqahu. I desire that I will not pass away until I meet Isa alayhi salam. I meet the Prophet Isa alayhi salam when he comes back for his second coming. That is my hope and that is my desire. And look what he said afterwards. He says, if I die and if I pass away before that, then O my students, take this instruction from me, فَقْرَؤُوا عَلَيْهِ مِنِّي السَّلَامِ. If I die before I can meet him physically, face to face, then my instruction to you is pass my salams to him when you meet him. Imagine, this is Abu Hurairah 1400 years ago, and look how motivated he is. He's like, Isa alayhi salam is going to come. I'm old, I have white hair, my rib cages are about to touch each other. 1 day, 2 days, I'm about to enter the grave. But I'm looking forward, maybe he'll come and I'll get to meet him. But if I don't, make sure you send my salam to him at least. You can see these people, all of these signs of Qiyamah, it was like it was right in front of them. It was right before their eyes. And this is 1400 years ago. Respected listeners, from the past few sessions that we've had, what else do we need for our eyes to open? For us to realize? Is there anything else? All the signs are right in front of us. So the Prophet ﷺ, he explained to us that Isa ﷺ, he will be coming back, right? And he will come with this mission of defeating Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. Now I want us to understand a little bit, why is Isa ﷺ, why is he called Al-Masih? In the Quran, he's referred to as Al-Masih ibn Maryam. The Masih, the Messiah. And a similar name is given to Dajjal. He is called the false Masih, the Dajjal Masih. So Dajjal is also called Masih, the Messiah, and Isa alayhi salam, Isa ibn Maryam, he is also called Al-Masih. In the Quran, he's referred to as Al-Masih. And the difference between the two, as we know, is what? One is truth, one is haqq, one is tawheed, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the truth, the way of the Prophets alayhimus salam, and the false Masih, he will be on the way of falsehood. He will be on the way of deception. He will be on the way of tricking people. He will be on the way of making people follow the shaitan. But why are they given this name? That's the question. So Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, in his time, he was in an era where medical sciences and medicine was at its peak. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him with miracles that looked like medicine. And he basically outdid everyone in his era to show that he is aided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أُبْرِئُ الْأَكْمَهَ وَالْأَبْرَسَ. Right? It's mentioned in the Quran that he would cure the people with skin diseases, the lepers. He would cure the people who were born blind. By the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would bring the dead back to life by Allah's permission. All of these miracles, for why? What was the reason? It was because people were really interested in medicine. They were really interested in the science of medicine. Each prophet that came, whatever was relevant in their times, Allah gave that prophet the relevant miracles. You look at Musa alayhi salam, what was in his time? It was magic, sorcery. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa alayhi salam with things that outdid their sorcery and their magic. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what was the common theme, the common thing of the time? Poetry and linguistics. So what was the miracle of the Prophet alayhi salam? Al-Quran. Right? And this is another important point for us to realize. Think of all of the miracles of the prophets. Musa alayhi salam, Moses, he had his staff. He had his shining hand. Isa alayhi salam, he would bring the dead back to life. He would cure the leper. He would, through Allah's mercy, the people who were born blind, they would be given sight again. Now imagine if someone were to tell you today, 3 o'clock, on such and such street, you'll be able to witness the miracle of Isa alayhi salam. You'll be able to witness the miracle of Musa alayhi salam. How many people would show up? A lot of people would show up, right? Oh my God, this is the miracle of the Anbiya. We can witness it right before our eyes. Brothers and sisters, the miracle of the Prophet ﷺ is the Quran. Every single human being, we have access to the Quran. It's in our shelves. That's the miracle of the Prophet ﷺ. Until Qiyamah, that miracle is existing amongst us. So Isa ﷺ, he is called the Masih, the Messiah, because Masih, it comes from the word masaha, which means to rub or to touch. So when he would touch the sick people, they would become cured. Right? And we covered before in Masih al-Dajjal, he is called Masih because his eye has been wiped out. It's like it's been touched and wiped away. Right? And when you look at the life of Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam, you will see that during his lifetime, the Bani Israel, the Yahud of his time, what did they do? They disbelieved in him, they caused him trouble, and eventually they propagated against him, they spread propaganda about him, they went to the king and rulers of the time, and they eventually instigated a plot to do what? To try and assassinate Isa alayhi salam. Right? They took it to the ultimate level of opposition. They wanted to take his life. So they devised this plan that they will enter his home and they will assassinate him. And eventually what happened? When they came inside of the home and Prophet alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam realized what's going on, Allah made the plot such that the face of Isa alayhi salam, the figure of Isa alayhi salam, was given to one of his close companions. Isa alayhi salam was taken up to the heavens, completely safe, completely secure, completely sound. And what happened afterwards? They assassinated one of the companions of Isa alayhi salam, but it was not Isa alayhi salam. And clearly Allah makes mentions of this in the Quran. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. They did not kill him. They did not crucify him. Allah clearly negates this in the Quran. Isa alayhi salam did not die. He was not killed by the Yahud. He was not killed by the Bani Israel. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. It was made to appear a certain way for them. It was made to appear that this is the figure of Isa alayhi salam and he's been assassinated, but it wasn't really him. Right? And Allah mentions in other verses of the Quran that He lifted him up and He took him into the heavens. So Isa alayhi salam, from that time, he has been waiting in Jannah. And when is the time that he's going to come back? Is to fulfill the final mission of taking care of Dajjal. Now a question comes here. What is the question? We mentioned that Dajjal, he's the greatest trial that mankind will ever face. From Adam to Qiyamah. The greatest trial that any human being will face, that mankind as a whole, the greatest trial is what? Is Dajjal. So since he's the greatest trial, wouldn't it make sense that the greatest Nabi, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, shouldn't he have been reserved for this job of taking care of Dajjal? That's a question that many ulama have asked. It's a doubt and an objection that many people could raise. And it's a logical question. He's the greatest trial, so the greatest prophet should be the one to take care of him, right? Why is it that Isa alayhi salam, he was taken up to the heavens, and now so many centuries have passed, he's waiting, and he's going to be the one that's appointed for this. He's reserved for this task. So much so that when the story of Ibn Sayyad, which we covered in detail, when Ibn Sayyad came out, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he said, I want to take care of this young person. This is probably Dajjal. I'm going to slay him. I'm going to take care of him and finish him off. And what did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? He said, what's the benefit in that? Because if he's not Dajjal, then what are you going to get out of doing it? It's no significance, no relevance. If he's not Dajjal, you're going to slay him for what? And if he is truly the Dajjal, then guess what? You're not going to be able to slay him. Why? Because that job has been reserved for Isa alayhi salam. Now the question is why? Why has this been reserved for Isa alayhi salam? Ulama have given many different reasons, and we'll mention just a couple. Number one, because the Bani Israel, they committed such oppression and such atrocities upon Isa alayhi salam in the form of their disbelief, in the form of their plotting, in the form of propagating and spreading lies about Isa alayhi salam, and ultimately planning to assassinate him and making an attempt to carry out that task. Because of this dhulm and because of this oppression that they did and that they committed, in the ends of times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow nobody else but Isa alayhi salam to take care of Dajjal and his army, which will comprise of who? The Bani Israel and the Yahud. The same people who say that they have assassinated, na'udhu billah, which is completely untrue. They think that they assassinated him, but it's not true. Allah protected and saved Isa alayhi salam. They tried to do that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow him to come down and get revenge, so to say, for the atrocities and the crimes which they committed against Isa alayhi salam. That's the first interpretation. And the second reasoning why Isa alayhi salam will be the one chosen for this is because Isa alayhi salam, from the time that he was born until the time that he was taken up, he propagated one message. And what was that one message? The oneness of God. The oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we know, what happened later on? The people distorted his messages. The people distorted his words. They changed and corrupted what he said. And eventually, what became the norm to say is that Isa alayhi salam, na'udhu billah, he said that he's God, he said that he's the son of God, he said that he's 1 in 3, 3 in 1. All of these things came after later on and falsely attributed to Isa alayhi salam. So this claim of divinity was attributed to Isa alayhi salam. And subhanAllah, the Quran makes mention of this, that Allah will question Isa alayhi salam. أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ اتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّيَ إِلَهَيْنِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Did you really tell the people to take me and my mother as gods besides Allah? إِن كُنْتُ قُلْتُهُ فَقَدْ عَلِمْتَهُ تَعْلَمُ مَا فِي نَفْسِي وَلَا أَعْلَمُ مَا فِي نَفْسِكَ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ عَلَّامُ الْغُيُوبِ. Oh Allah, you know better what I have said. مَا قُلْتُ لَهُمْ إِلَّا مَا أَمَرْتَنِي بِهِ. I only said to them what you have commanded. Worship one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is all that I said to my nation. So in the end of time, Dajjal will make a proclamation and he will make an announcement. And what's that announcement going to be? Ana Rabbukum. He will make this announcement that I am the Lord. Na'udhu billah, I am Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's going to make this proclamation. He's going to make this announcement. That there's, to say that He's God means what? There's a God besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Na'udhu billah. And this same statement was attributed to who? Isa alayhi salam. So he will come down to show the people that Dajjal's claim and his statement, this is incorrect. And my whole life and my energy and my tears and my blood and everything was spent for upholding one message. There's no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he will destroy that claim of Dajjal and to affirm the teachings which he was brought with. So these are two reasons why the ulama mention Isa alayhi salam specifically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reserved him and honored him with this final task. And there is a third reason mentioned as well. Wallahu a'lam. The main power of Dajjal is going to be what? Materialism, science, technology, knowledge of dunya. And with all of these things, he will trick people and he will make things seem like they're actually not. So Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam, in his era, he came at the peak of medicine, technology, material, sciences. So he will come to finally show that in the end, materialism will never succeed. Dunya and possessions and money, wealth, these things will never be successful. Main success and true success is found in Islam and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now inshallah we're going to cover some of the descriptions and the things that Isa alayhi salam will do when he comes back. He's going to live in this world, he's going to finish off Dajjal. What will he look like? What is the description in the hadith? How he will appear? What is he going to be wearing? What is he going to look like? What will he do? How will he live? What are some of the things that he'll do when he spends his life on this earth, when he comes back? So we'll go over some of the ahadith and see what Isa alayhi salam will do when he comes back. So when he comes down, he will be a man of average height and he will have a reddish white complexion. His skin color will be reddish white and he will be of average height. His hair will be somewhat curly and it will be down to his shoulders. When he comes down on the wings of the two angels and he will descend on the eastern minaret of the masjid in Damascus, his hair will look like it's wet. When he puts his head down, water will trickle down from his hair. He will look like he had just taken a bath. He will have two cloths. One will be a lower garment, like a lungi, and one will be an upper garment. The color of these garments will be a dull colored yellowish. So kind of like a creamy, dull colored yellow. Both of these cloths. When he comes down, he will also have armor covering his body, which will show what? He's here for a mission and an objective. He's here to finish off the forces of corruption and oppression. He's here for a mission. Some of the other ahadith mention that as he's descending, he's going to come down with a long hat, which is going to be covering his head. Right? So just like the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ was to wear a kufi, Isa alayhi salam will also come down when he's wearing a head covering. In the Musannaf of Abdul Razak rahimahullah, there's an interesting narration that says, as we know from the previous lectures, he will descend at what time? Who remembers? The time of Fajr. Who's going to be gathered there at that time? Mahdi will be gathered. With who? 800 believing men, 400 believing women. Why are they going to be gathered at that time?
Prayer.
For prayer, and also battle against Dajjal. This army, they will finally say, you know what? Dajjal has been torturing us. Dajjal has been oppressing us. He's taken all the resources. He's doing this, he's doing that. There's no way out for us now except to battle against him. They will gather at that masjid, at that area in Damascus. And early in the morning at the time of Salatul Fajr, that is when Isa alayhi salam will come down. So it's going to be a little bit dark. Because Fajr time, it's not bright. It's not fully bright. It's a little bit darkness at the time of Fajr. But the narration mentions when Isa alayhi salam comes down, he will come down with so much nur. He will descend with so much light that the lower bodies, the legs, the lower portions, the feet area, the legs area of the people, it will suddenly become illuminated and they'll be able to see. You know when it's dark outside, the area that's really hard to see is where? Is near your feet. Right? Maybe you can make out someone's face, but you know, looking at the shoes, usually that area is really dark. You can't tell what kind of shoes somebody's wearing when it's really, really dark outside, especially if there's no lights. But when he comes down, there's going to be so much light and nur that even the feet and the legs of the people, you'll be able to see. Everything will become illuminated. SubhanAllah, that shows us that the Prophets alayhimussalam, the teachings of the Prophets alayhimussalam, it is light upon light, nurun ala nur. It takes us out from the depths and the pits of darkness which this world has to offer us. Shaitan, he digs for us pits of darkness. He digs for us traps. Things that will lock your heart and put rust on your heart and put you into the pits of extreme darkness that you can't see light. That darkness puts you into depression. That darkness, it puts you into sadness. That darkness, it puts you into hopelessness. That's what sins and the path of shaitan leads you towards. The path of deception. You feel like the sins will do you good. You feel like the sins will make you happy. You feel like the sins will bring some type of joy and enjoyment in your life. But in reality, what is it in actual fact? It's darkness upon darkness. But the teachings of Anbiya, the teachings of the Prophets, are things that will illuminate your life. It will bring light inside of your life, light inside of your heart, true contentment and happiness. Once he comes down, he will tell the believers. A lot of these riwayat we covered before, so I'm not going to go too much into detail. Mahdi will push him forward and say, lead the salah. And Isa alayhi salam, what will he say? He will say, you've been appointed for this. Iqamah was called for you, you go ahead and lead the salah. تَكْرِمَةً لِهَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ, as an honor for this ummah. Imagine, a ummati of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Mahdi. a normal member of the nation of the Prophet ﷺ, he will lead the salah in front of a prophet. Imagine. A prophet will stand behind, but the ummati of Muhammad ﷺ, he will stand in front. And some narrations even mention that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and many of the other prophets, they would make dua. We want to be members of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is so honorable. He is so cherished. He is so close to Allah, so beloved to Allah. We want to be members of His ummah. Can you imagine? Brothers and sisters, the place that we're in right now, as members of His ummah, prophets desired to be in the position that you're in right now. Imagine that. What does that demand from us? Value the position that Allah has given you. Billions of people have gone from this world. Some were from the nation of Nuh, beginning times Adam alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam. From all the nations that Allah could have produced us in, Allah chose you in a position to be in the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In that position which even prophets desired. What does that demand from us, brothers and sisters? Respect that prophet. Follow that prophet. Learn the teachings of that prophet. Love him. Learn about him. Implement his teachings in your life. Isa alayhi salam desired this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him this, his dua. But as an honor for him, or as an honor for this ummah, Mahdi will be appointed to lead the salah. Now before we go further, two things that I want to touch upon. Number one, when Isa alayhi salam comes down, now brothers and sisters, a lot of people, we become overconfident in ourselves. Man, when Isa alayhi salam comes, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be right by his side, you know, and this and that, and we talk and we say all these things. Let's talk less and let's implement more. Speak less and implement more. That's how Sahaba radiallahu anhum, how they were. They weren't people that boasted. They weren't people that talked. They didn't need to talk. Their actions proved who they were. When Isa alayhi salam descends, number one, he will descend at the time of Fajr. If you want to be in the army of Isa alayhi salam and you want to be on his side, and you're asleep most of the time for Salatul Fajr, oh my brother, oh my sister, Isa alayhi salam is going to come down, you're going to be sleeping. The light is going to be illuminated. The water is going to be dripping from his hair. He's going to come down in the two cloths. You're going to be snoring. You're going to be dreaming of Qiyamah. The action is taking place. The army is going to go. The followers will depart. And you're still going to be sleeping. Allah save us. Allah protect us. This teaches us something, my brothers and sisters. The most important thing is preparation. Allah has given us, the Prophet ﷺ has explained to us the description of these people. Bring those qualities inside. And the second thing we mentioned, respected brothers and sisters, is that when Isa alayhi salam comes down, that army of people, they have gathered for what purpose? They have gathered to battle against Dajjal. They didn't gather to eat biryani. They didn't gather for a samosa party. They gathered to battle against Dajjal. That's what they came for. In other words, they said, you know what? We have all come here and we know we're risking our lives. We might not go home alive after this. What does that show you? The people who will be with Isa alayhi salam at that time, they will be people that battle against their desires. The love of Allah, the love of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the love of Islam will overpower the love of everything else. The love of this world, the love of sin, the love of everything that this world has to offer. Their love to meet Allah will be more powerful than all other loves. If you want to be with Isa alayhi salam, if you want to be on the right side during that time, bring these qualities within us, inshaAllah. Love Allah more than everything else. Love the Prophet alayhi salam more than everything else. We should have more love for them even than ourselves. your own comfort, your own luxury, that should be secondary. Primary should be, what does my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want from me? Right? And like we said before, subhanAllah, people will say, man, at that time, trust me bro, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Salatul Fajr comes in, and that light blanket, you can't even bench press that blanket to wake yourself up for Salatul Fajr. How are you going to bench press Dajjal off your chest? How are you going to bench press all of these fitnas when they're coming your way? Preparation is key, my brothers and sisters. And that's why I keep repeating, if we get anything from this program, change, implementation, develop good habits, develop a routine. Not a day should go by that you don't think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not a day should go by that you sit down and you contemplate on your life, and you contemplate on the world and in which direction everything is heading. And you ask yourself, between you and Allah, Ya Allah, am I prepared for what's ahead? Have I been preparing myself? Wallahi, if we are not doing this, we have failed. This lecture series and these sessions does not mean much if that's the case. We must implement and we must prepare ourselves spiritually. When Isa alayhi salam comes down, he will tell the believers, move out of my way. Separate from between me and him. And he will start chasing the Dajjal. He will open the door, and as soon as he looks at him, the Dajjal will melt. Literally, he will melt, like how salt dissolves inside of water. And the breath of Isa alayhi salam will destroy everyone who is in opposition towards the truth. And his breath will go as far as his eyes can see. So that's how easily. And just as a side point, there was an article in the New York Times, 1998. When? 1998. There was a Reverend, Clyde Lott. Look what he said. And like I said before, many of the Christians, many people from amongst them, they're actively preparing for this second coming. They're actively in preparation. They spend millions of dollars for propagating this message and preparation for when Isa alayhi salam will come back again. Of course, when he comes, he will speak the truth about everything. We're going to cover some of those riwayat. But look what he said. He said, a Jewish temple, a temple of the Yahud, must be established in Jerusalem before the second coming of Christ. Before the second coming of Christ can happen, there must be Jewish temple in Jerusalem. And look what he said. He said, for that to happen, Muslim shrines like the Dome of the Rock, Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and within its compounds, Dome of the Rock, these types of things, they would need to be knocked down. They would need to be removed. And in 1998, what did he say? He said, I'm convinced that God will attend to this in due time. And what are we seeing recently? More and more control of Dajjal and his forces over these lands. Right? So like we're saying, it's time to wake up. It's time to realize time is not far. In the Sunan of Ibn Majah rahimahullah, he says that when the Prophet alayhi salam is saying that when Isa alayhi salam comes down, what will he do? يَدُقُّ الصَّلِيبِ وَيَقْتُلُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. He will destroy the cross and he will kill the pig. Now what does this exactly mean? Some people, they misunderstand and they think it's going to be like a genocide of pigs all across the world. Like everywhere you see a pig, you just got to gather them in masses and just execute all the pigs. That's not what it means. Some of the muhaddithin, they've mentioned destruction of the cross means this ideology of Isa alayhi salam being killed on the cross, and this ideology and understanding that Isa alayhi salam, died for our sins, and that Isa alayhi salam is God, Son of God, all of these mentalities and ideologies will be abolished. He will eradicate them, and He will speak the truth to the people that this was my message. This was my message. Whatever came after and whatever you people have changed, that's on you guys, but this was my message. And that's why Allah mentions in the Quran as well, وَإِن مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ إِلَّا لَيُؤْمِنَنَّ بِهِ قَبْلَ مَوْتِهِ. Before the demise of Isa alayhi salam, there will not be anyone from the Ahlul Kitab, from the people of the book, except that they will believe in Isa alayhi salam. They will hear it directly from his mouth. They will hear the truth directly from his tongue. And killing the pig, what does it mean? The laws which people had changed. Eating of swine is permissible, drinking of alcohol is permissible. All of those laws that have been created by changing the text and altering the true message of Isa alayhi salam, He will bring back those laws as they were originally brought down, which is in accordance with Islam. The ahadith also mention when Isa alayhi salam comes, He will come as a hakaman muqsitan. He will come as a just ruler. He will establish justice. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prevail all over the world. And once the Dajjal is finished off, there will be such a period of peace, the likes of which the world has never witnessed before. And some of those, how peaceful it will be, we'll cover that in just a second. But another thing that I want to talk about is the riwayat mention وَيَضَعُ الْجِزْيَةَ, and in some narrations وَيَضَعُ الْخَرَاج as well, that the Prophet Isa alayhi salam, when he comes down, he will stop the system of tax collection. He will stop the system of tax collection. And the interesting thing is, some of the ulama, they've done research into this, and according to them, according to some of the muhaddithin and scholars of hadith, they say that there's a hidden ishara, there's an indication in this, that before the coming of Isa alayhi salam, the collection of tax, it may serve the plot of Dajjal. The collection of tax will play a major role in what? In the work of Dajjal's plan. And if you look at that, today, many of the countries, the billions of dollars that are being collected, a lot of it is to the governments, a lot of it is going to the World Bank, a lot of it is going to so many different programs that are being out there, and a lot of it is being funneled in which direction? To help support Dajjal. That's why when Isa alayhi salam comes, He's going to stop all of these taxes, because it's anti-Dajjal. When Isa comes alayhi salam, He's anti-Dajjal. That's why some people call Antichrist. So that tax which is part of Dajjal's system, he will abolish that. And we all know what happened right now with the stimulus check. $500 million. $500 million. All went where? To Israel. For missiles and all these kinds of things. For the army of Dajjal, 500 million, all from tax dollars. And poor guys over here, how much we get? $600. That's like what, 2-3 Costco trips?
A week of rent.
A week of rent. When Isa alayhi salam comes back, he will eventually get married. He will get married, and he will marry a woman from the tribe of Judham. Look at that. The Prophet alayhi salam even mentioned specifically which tribe that person will be from. From the tribe of Judham. And after his marriage, he will live for 19 years, making the total 40 years. Now, After Dajjal is destroyed and Isa alayhi salam is living in this world, Islam is established everywhere. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all over the world. And this is going to be a period of extreme prosperity and goodness. Such goodness that people have never heard of before. What type of goodness? Let's look at the hadith that mentions some of these things. Nobody will get sick or die. Animals will graze freely. Wolves will roam with the sheep, but they will not eat the sheep. You ever heard of such a wolf? Graze freely, and the wolves will not even harm them. The predatory animals, they will not harm human beings. People will cross by lions. Assalamu alaikum, how you doing? I'm just going to the masjid. Isa alayhi salam is there, we're going to pray salah. Go ahead. Bismillah, pass through. The lion is not going to harm. Small child, the narration mentions, they will be able to put their hand in the mouth of a snake. The snake will not bite. The venom from the venomous animals will be extracted. That harmful venom, it will be extracted. No more wars, no more fighting. There will be such wealth, nobody will even desire dunya. Wealth will be so much, nobody will even care for it. Nobody will even desire it. There will not be anyone to accept sadaqah. You will look around, where is a poor person I can give some sadaqah to, some charity? There will be nobody there. Everybody will be content. Without tilling the soil, people will plant crops, 7 times the harvest will come out. No effort, no tilling, just plant the thing and 7 times will come out. Brothers and sisters, from all of this we can see something. Before Isa alayhi salam, what happens? There's Dajjal. People are hungry, people are thirsty, people are in tribulation. There's war, everything is in turmoil, there's corruption. But the people, they had sabr, they had sincerity, they fought their desires, they fought against Dajjal, they persevered through the hard times. Then eventually what happens after that? Isa alayhi salam comes down and what happens? Oh man, 40 years you're enjoying yourself. So after that period of difficulty, then there's what? There's ease. We must never forget that. Inna ma'al usri yusra. With difficulties, there always comes ease. Right? So even right now, I know a lot of people, they're going through depression, they're going through issues at home. People are fighting, families are fighting. You're stuck in the same house every day, smelling the same person's breath every single day. Right? I don't advise you to do that. You should go for a walk. You should go for a walk or brush your teeth a couple times a day. Rasulullah ﷺ, as soon as he would enter the house, he would do miswak. Right? And of course, that's teaching us, because the Prophet ﷺ, his breath was sweet. He did not have bad breath. His sweat was itr. He smelled the best fragrance which this dunya can offer. That's how the Prophet ﷺ smelled. But to teach us, he would enter with the miswak. He loved the miswak. Right? So with all of these difficulties and the difficult times, who will be successful? The people that persevere. And remember, there's better times ahead, inshallah. There's better times ahead. So, do not fall into depression. Don't fall into, all of these thoughts, bad thoughts, negativity. Do your best, persevere, focus on your prayers. Take the positive aspects of life. Take the positive of the situation, and inshallah you'll see better days. This is how Allah made this world. There are good days, and there are bad days. There are times of affluence, and then there are times of difficulties. Dajjal, difficulties. Isa alayhi salam comes, everything is nice and easy and good. And then guess what happens after that? Ya'juj and Ma'juj will come, and the difficulties will start again. It's a never-ending cycle, my brothers and sisters. Allah did not make this world as a place for comfort. That's the ultimate thing. Allah is showing us. Don't attach your heart to this dunya. Because the moment that it's sweet and good, what happens? Something bad will happen. This is what we call Darul Bala, Darul Imtihan. It's the place of being tested. It's the place of trials and tribulations. the place of relaxation is the next life, not this world. Eventually, Isa alayhi salam will pass away. The Muslims will bury him. They will read the Salatul Janazah. And where will he be buried? Will he be buried in Damascus? Or will he be buried in Jordan? Anyone? Damascus or Jordan? If it's neither, then where? Medina Munawwara. Inshallah, when you guys go for Hajj and Umrah, well, that's another thing also, I just remembered. One of the riwayat mentioned, when Isa alayhi salam comes back, he will go for Hajj and Umrah. He will recite the Labbaik at a place near Badr, I believe it is. Near Badr, he will recite the Labbaik, he will go for Hajj or Umrah, and when he comes to the Rawdah, the place where Rasulullah is buried, he will recite the Salam, and the Prophet ﷺ will reply to his Salam. So he will live like a person of this ummah. You know, he'll go for Hajj and Umrah. Imagine going on that package. That's like a 10-star. What was I saying before this? Lost track. Where he will be buried. So, inshallah, when you guys go for Hajj and Umrah, you will see that when you're at the Rawdah in Medina Munawwara, there's the place where you offer your salam to the Prophet alayhi salam. It's covered, it's a gate, golden gate. And there are 3 holes, 3 circles. The first one is where Rasulullah ﷺ is buried. And that is where, you know, they give you some time, hopefully. You don't get like pushed and kicked out. But that's where you're supposed to stand. You face it with utmost adab and respect, with your head down, and you offer salam to the Prophet ﷺ. Then you move a little bit to the right, and that is where Abu Bakr as-Siddeeq is buried. You offer your salam to Abu Bakr as-Siddeeq. And then to the right is Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, you offer your salam there. And then to the left of all of these, there's an empty grave. It's literally empty. And it's waiting for somebody. Isa alayhi salam. He will be buried right next to the Prophet alayhi salam, together with Abu Bakr as-Siddeeq and Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. All in that noble place. And they'll be resurrected together. So imagine, Allah give us a death in Jannatul Baqi', inshallah, and you're buried in Medina Munawwara. When you're resurrected, guess who's right there? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Isa alayhi salam, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, Umar radiyallahu anhu, and thousands and thousands of Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. Imagine being amongst that group. So let's see if I can put this on. Oh. So if you guys can see the screen, that's the gate. A lot of times you're not going to be able to look at it like this clear, because there's going to be a lot of people and there's going to be guards and you're going to be getting pushed around. But this first one right here, this circle, can you guys see it? That one right there, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, and right here they say will be the place reserved for Isa alayhi salam. Now after Isa alayhi salam, he will appoint a leader. Some of the riwayat mention his name will be Ma'qad. And he will remain for about 30 years. And after that, that's when things will start going downhill. And within about 100 to 120 years, things will move very, very fast-paced and downhill, and eventually Qiyamah will take place at a very, very high rate. Very, very fast pace. Now before Isa alayhi salam leaves this world, there's going to be one of the major signs of Qiyamah in his time. And what is that fitna and what is that trial and tribulation? Is where there's a certain creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that will be unleashed. And this creation that will be unleashed, they will cause tremendous turmoil, chaos, killing, murder, and the world will be in a very, very difficult stage. And once those things are released, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. What exactly is Ya'juj and Ma'juj? What type of creation are they? What is the reality of Ya'juj and Ma'juj? Some people say coronavirus is Ya'juj, Ma'juj. Can that be true? So inshallah, where's Isa alayhi salam then?
Yeah, it's like,
Right? But inshallah, this is one of the topics which the ulama have done a lot of research in. And like we said, the signs of Qiyamah, the ulama say, figuring out the signs is like Qiyamah on its own. Because it's so difficult and it's so vague and there's so many different ways that you could apply. So inshallah, next week we're going to cover Ya'juj and Ma'juj, what the ulama and the scholars have mentioned regarding Ya'juj and Ma'juj, what is their reality, what will they do, and how Isa alayhi salam will put an end to that.